Talking about Syria, what we've seen in the past 5 years and even before is that policymakers have often been behind the curve. They've been reacting to what's been happening. If you look at issues like the refugee crisis, it was clearly predictable that the refugee crisis would happen, but it took a major catastrophe, or it took the catastrophe to come to European shores for that to truly become noticed. So I think talking about the issue of reconstruction is important, but it's very difficult. Of course, we don't know what the post-conflict scenario will be in Syria. There are many known unknowns. What kind of governance structure it will be, what will the future of the regime be, the security sector, who will be the actors. We know that we don't know these, but we still have to plan ahead to think about reconstruction so that when it's possible, we're able to undertake it. But the key here is when and how we do it. So in Syria, even if a peace deal is reached in Geneva tomorrow, it's clear that that deal wouldn't encompass the whole of the country, because certain groups that control territory are excluded: ISIS, Nusra, Kurdish groups. And that provides a challenge to conventional systems of post-conflict reconstruction that the international community has traditionally undertaken, which waits for a settlement to be made, and then after that settlement, a comprehensive programme is put in place for the reconstruction of the country. Clearly that won't be the case in Syria. But it also draws back to a model of conflict which is outdated. The Syrian conflict had no clear beginning and it will have no clear end. It will rumble on at varying levels of intensity following even a peace deal in Geneva. So that provides a lot of challenges to the international community, and from my perspective, challenges the international community to act now, to do the things that it can do to counteract the pervasive war economy which has taken hold in Syria. And so in sum, I think what the international community needs to do is plan for big item reconstruction of infrastructure, etc., but it also needs to work on a bottom-up approach to support communities to diffuse conflict and to provide livelihoods and reinvigorate markets. The challenge is how they do that without making the war economy worse. It's a question of working now. The international community already does work with local communities. If you look at opposition-held areas of Syria, in Idlib, in rural Aleppo, there are programs that provide support to local councils, to other groups, to provide community-based projects, infrastructure, to support to farmers, grain, which enables them to increase their agricultural production. These are the kinds of initiatives that move beyond the humanitarian response, which is an aid basket, but provides something which allows local communities to be more sustainable. Those are the things that we need to look at. Now, the difficulty, of course, is that these communities are often in the midst of violent conflict, so what could be built could be destroyed. So the challenges of that are immense, but as I think has been explained well in this conference here today in Barcelona, is that if we were to wait for the perfect environment in which to implement a plan to reconstruct everything, there would be very little left to reconstruct, and the task would be much greater. So we have to do what we can while we can.